Welcome back, folks. It's actually Amoongus, your coach of the Atlanta Sobble, and today we've got a battle from the NPA, the National Pokemon Association. And if you follow this channel, you may know we've been struggling in this league so far. Right now, we are sitting at 0-3, hoping for our first win. And well, basically we're at the point where this is one of our last chances to salvage this season. Losing 4 in a row without a single victory. Probably too much of a deficit to come back from. It's basically win or go home from this point on in the season. Maybe we can afford some losses down the road if we get some wins under our belts. But if we don't start turning the season around now, it's going to be impossible to bring it back. So, coming into this matchup, I played against Coach Splashy and battled him before in other draft leagues, but this was PWD Season 1 long time ago. So I'm not exactly sure what to expect as a player, but a couple things on the team definitely were a concern coming into this match. The main two definitely came, which are Articuno and Blaziken from a win condition standpoint, but also Articuno from a speed steer standpoint, because if he brought a Choice Scarf, he'll be able to do he'll be able to outspeed my entire team. Plus, it kind of obviously needed to be Choice Scarf because of my Urshifu having a base 97 speed as compared to the Articuno's base 95. And so it kind of, and going into this match, there was two things I wanted to look out for. I wanted to know if the Articuno was going to be scarfed or more of like a scarf, like a wall breaker slash, special threat, but basically just to do damage. And Blaziken can be the main win condition, or vice versa. But we're going to lead with the Landorus, thinking that if Blaziken is one of the main win conditions, it's definitely a Pokemon that he could try to get the jump on me with and get ahead of me early on and just overwhelm me with. So we want to block the Blaziken lead with Landorus, putting him at -1 and forcing the switch. So we're going to get some pretty free Stealth Rocks that are going to be huge for me throughout the game, because it allows me to switch as much as I want and as freely as I want in and out of, especially this Blaziken in particular. And in order for him to do the same, he's going to have to take damage basically every time every time he switches, is basically every time I create a mismatch for him. So he's going to end up going to his Gastrodon here, which is, besides the offensive threats that I already mentioned, this was definitely the biggest nuisance to my team as far as a wall is concerned. Something I definitely brought a couple of answers for, Tangrowth being one of them. I went to Tangrowth first, just in case he brought the Ice Beam on it. Tangrowth would take a lot from that, but would then switch out with its eject button, and then be able to heal some of that health that it took back. So obviously on the grass type, that's going to force the switch from my opponent. So we're just going to go into the Leech Seed in case he creates a big mismatch. It'll help us switch into whatever we need to, recover some damage if we have to take a hit. My opponent's going to go into Grimmsnarl, So basically our Leech Seed is just going to keep the poison off, poison damage off of us for the most part. We'll also go for the Giga Drain here just to help with that, kind of scout out or wait it out more like, and see what kind of Grimmsnarl my opponent has here. In prep, I thought that screens would be a good opportunity, especially with the Blaziken and speed boost, but as I mentioned before, the Articuno, but also applies to the Weavile because of its really good speed tier behind screens, could just really poke holes in my team and take hits fairly well. Upon noticing this, I actually had prepared something slightly different when I decided to bring the Choice Band on my Metagross. I was supposed to also put the move Rock Slide on it, and I technically have the wrong Metagross because it still has agility on it, which was a previous plan to try to outspeed the Articuno if he brought a Choice Scarf, and that ends up not obviously coming to be because I don't bring the Rock Slide. But when I noticed that, I basically have a 3-move Metagross, I just play around it in a different way. Especially knowing that he does go for the light screens as predicted. This was another one of the intended uses for the Metagross, so I just kind of am a little bit more willing to put this in harm's way. He could have had the Sucker Punch or that kind of thing, which I may have lived a Sucker Punch. If he was Jolly max speed and used Knockoff, I think he would have had a chance to kill. But I also would have had I think that would have been a roll. So I do put my Metagross at risk, but only some risk. He could have then followed it up with the Weavile, of course, and just killed me that way. So it's still a risk. My opponent's actually going to go back into his Grimmsnarl and attempt to set the screens back up. I'm not sure if this was just a misplay or a misunderstanding of how Brick Break works. Maybe they weren't exactly sure that it broke the screens before doing damage. I don't know, but clearly a misjudgment on my opponent. Helped a lot, obviously, to give me a 4-6 lead early on in the game. But kind of another thing that I was worried about, and another thing I brought Rock Slide for, in case he brought a setup Blaziken on the turn he could set up, I could have went for the Rock Slide, but instead we gotta play it differently. And also, if he wanted to bring an extra coverage move, he could just use his Dynamax to boost up his Blaziken. So knowing that, we just go to Landorus, get the Intimidate off again. There's really not anything that Blaziken can do to hurt Landorus that badly. So we're just going to drop its attack and see what it goes for. Even if it does go for it, would have went for a Swords Dance, it would have only been at +1. But instead it's going to go for the Dynamax and actually reveal Max Darkness, which is interesting for 2 reasons. It makes me question, does my opponent not have a Fire type move? But also makes me wonder what this Dark type move is. Because, I obviously have the Metagross and the Gengar. I'm not exactly sure, what he brought this coverage for. either way, right now, you know, we have obvious problem of my opponent being Dynamaxed. Figuring he would either go for the Max Knuckle or go for the Max Darkness again, thinking that it might give a little bit more damage. We go to Tangrowth and execute our little eject button plan here. We still don't see a Max Flare or a Max Airstream out of our opponent, so you know, that I guess you'd say that's pretty interesting. We're trying to stall out these Dynamax turns, but also making guesses at what the moveset is. You know, we've seen Max Darkness and Max Knuckles so far. We intimidated him back down to regular attack. Where is he at -1 again now? I think he's at -1 again now. And yeah, actually for that reason, we're gonna go for the U-turn. We're gonna take the Max Knuckle, obviously because of the speed boost, but we're gonna U-turn out into Gengar. So when he shrinks down, we're gonna try to scout out what this dark move is. So from here, we're gonna continue to, you know, play switcheroo on my opponent. We're gonna scout out the dark type attack. And yeah, basically I don't know what else to say, but that was and is a key factor in winning this game, was to neutralize Dynamax Blaziken, bring in Landorus as many times as needed on it, keep its attack as low as possible, right, because it does go, I think, to +1 on that last Max Knuckle. So we're going to bring in Landorus one more time, put it back at 0. It knows it can't do anything in this matchup, so it's going to have to switch. It's got a lot of speed boosts, but it doesn't have any attack boosts. So we're going to pull off another free U-turn. Obviously knowing that in the back he has 2 Pokemon that would take, you know, decent damage from the U-turn, and Gastrodon, which obviously isn't going to take very much damage from any of my attacks. So it was basically, I knew that my opponent was going to switch there. So we're just going to U-turn back out, see what he goes to, and with him going to Articuno, Articuno taking rock damage as well as U-turn damage. We think about going to the Cryogonal here because it's set up to wall out Scarfed Articuno, as well as deal with the Gastrodon that could come in instead. But with it being at under 50% health here, we're going to actually go for Gengar to see if it's Scarf for sure, because Gengar has base 110 speed. It should, if not, the only way that Articuno can outspeed Gengar, and obviously it does here, is to be Scarf. So knowing that, we are going to lose Gengar, but we get some important knowledge in return. And we're going to then go to the Cryogonal. Base 105 to base 95, I'm not sure if I can outspeed after. Well, basically, I just figured this was my best chance. I didn't think that Freeze Dry would kill in one turn anyway. So figuring that it's going to be a 2-hit KO, I thought that I would get it more cleanly by going for the Icy Wind into the Freeze Dry. They're instead going to switch to Gastrodon, which is great by me. This was actually made to get rid of the Gastrodon. And of course we're going to lower the speed. We're going to go for the freeze dry here. My opponent's going to take a moment to think, consider their options. So yeah, they're going to withdraw. They're going to go to their Articuno here. And after the Stealth Rock damage, it is going to go down to the Freeze Dry. It wasn't a free kill because he could have went to Blaziken and took minimal damage. But after Stealth Rocks, like, that starts to add up really quickly. Another thing that made Stealth Rocks early on so key is that he brought 4 Pokemon that were weak to it. Well, no, only 3, but still. You know, half the team's taking 25% every time it comes in. Really helped a lot, especially when I can switch for free and just come in and intimidate the Blaziken. And once again, obviously that is one of the reasons I'm able to live this high jump kick. And then we still haven't seen a fire or flying move from this thing. No Brave Bird, no Blaze Kick, Flare Blitz, nothing of that sort. So to kind of still scout it out and to try to bring out the Gastrodon and finish it off, and in case he goes to the Gastrodon to try to finish it off, we're going to go to Tangrowth here. My opponent's going to go for high jump kick. You know, it's going to connect, do a little bit of damage, that kind of thing, but we're still good, especially having the regenerator ability. We're actually just going to predict that they'll switch here, and because we haven't seen those coverage moves yet, and we're going to go for Sleep Powder, hoping to just catch whatever comes in, and obviously knowing that either they're going to go for one of these moves that hasn't been doing a whole lot to Tangrowth, or go to Weavile, which is what they end up doing. And as long as the Sleep Powder connects, that puts us in a really good position to attempt Focus Blast, and as long as we don't miss multiple in a row, we should be able to get the KO on this other big threat, particularly to Landorus. You know, obviously this breaks the matchup between Landorus and Blaziken and allows it to be able to take over the game. You know, if Landorus is out of the way. And obviously, even though we haven't seen it in this game, Blaziken also has to have the flying type coverage move in order to effectively deal with the Urshifu. But other than that, you know, if Weavile is able to take care of Landorus, then it's basically free reign for Blaziken. So being able to get that out of the way was huge. Blaziken has to come in again on the Stealth Rocks. We'll switch out one more time and intimidate it, expecting the Landorus to go down here if he goes for high jump kick, but you never know. It could miss, could be a low roll, and we live. And well, that's actually exactly what ends up happening. is we end up living this on one, or on two rather. And now with this at -1, we can go for a free earthquake. He may stay in and just let it go down, but he decides to go to Gastrodon instead. Well, actually, he could have got the kill right there, but decides to go to Gastrodon. So we're going to get some free damage. You know, it's a little bit, but it still counts. And then basically, considering the fact that they took out the Blaziken, even though 3 minutes isn't a whole lot of time for a comeback, we're going to bring it back out one more time in case we decide to intimidate one more time. We're going to go to the Cryogonal because there's nothing quickly that Gastrodon can do to this, and I can easily freeze dry. Eat up this clear smog, no problem. And then we're going to pick up another kill with Cryogonal here. Which, after this, that just leaves a heavily weakened Blaziken in the way. We're actually going to let it come in, take the rocks damage, and considering that we are faster than it for this one turn, and we haven't seen Protect from it, we're going to go ahead and just fire off an Ancient Power for damage. Heck, you never know. Maybe I would have got the boost, get the 10% chance to boost all my stats and be able to live a hit, finish this off with Cryogonal. Unfortunately, that's not what ends up happening, and Cryogonal goes down to a high jump kick. But it basically just puts my opponent at a couple health, and Metagross is able to come in, finish it off, and your Atlanta Sobble get their first win of the NPA season. Almost tripped on my words there, but we improved to 3-1 after a fairly decisive 4-0 finish. Like I said, we're gonna take the bullet punch here, knock this out, finish it off just like that. So GG's to my opponent, Coach Splashy and the Buffalo Buizels. Good luck in your oncoming matches. As for me, you'll see me return again next week. Try to keep this momentum going against the... oh Lord, what was the name of the team? Against the Rain team, I know that much. No, in all seriousness, I believe it was called the Lithuania Lantern. And anyway, be on the lookout for that because we also got a roster move coming. It may or may not make an appearance next week, but we'll talk about that. Until next time, peace.